Hey everyone, what we're going to do today is something a little bit different. It has some similar tones as other jigs. Um, it's going to be what's called a horsefly, which is basically a little hair jig tied on a aspirin head. Um, this is different because this is Do-It's new freestyle jig, and while it's not a true aspirin head, you can see the shape of it here. It's like a hybrid. It's in between an aspirin head and a round head. It's got these flat sides that uses the oversized eyes in it, and it'll work great for this particular jig. It was something that Billy Westmoreland used to catch big smallmouth on Dale Hollow. And the reason for the aspirin head is the way it cuts through the water. It has sort of a shimmy to the fall. So he traditionally used it with like a pork rind type trailer. That's where ours is going to differ. And while it could be used with bucktail and all, we're going to use craft fur, some synthetics with this. So let's get started. And by the way, there's no wire keeper in here. This jig would normally import with a wire keeper, but because we're going to put our own trailer in here, a built-in one, there's no need to have that. So we're going to get started with some Loctite super glue brush on. And we're just going to put a little bit of glue on the collar there, since there is no collar or anything to lock our thread in. We'll use the glue. Now we're going to start with some 210 flat wax nylon thread. And it's just a standard white color. We'll get a little bit of a base. The color of this jig is just a bait fish pattern. I was playing around with it a little bit. I put a little bit of I painted a pearl and put a little bit of red on the bottom there, which would be the throat area, and then we did a little black scale pattern on the top. But you don't need any of that. It's just something I was playing around with. So once we get a little bit of a collar on here, we're going to start with the first thing, which is in this pattern here, which is mostly pearl. I'm using this silver gray rabbit strip. This is going to be our trailer, and we're going to tie that in first. Take it and position it on the back. You want that leather facing the hook shank. And you want this maybe about an inch and a half behind, depending on, if you're fishing it deeper, you may want a larger, a longer trailer. If for short striking fish, you may want something smaller. It's one of the trial and error type deals. I like it about an inch to an inch and a half behind the hook. So now that we got our trailer tied in, we're going to take some white craft fur. That's all this is. And I want the craft fur extending just maybe a half an inch or so beyond the hook. Measure that, and I'll trim it off. This is a 3/16 ounce jig, by the way. I'm sorry I forgot to mention that. Horsefly is traditionally tied anywhere from like an 1/8 ounce to 1/8 to 1/4 range. I've seen them tied to 3/8 ounce, and I've also seen them in smaller 1/16 ounce deals. So we got a little bit of white craft fur there that we just tied in. Put a little more, and you don't want to overdo it with the craft fur. This has a lot of movement between the rabbit fur and the fluid movement you get from craft fur. This jig has a lot of motion to it, and you can work it along the bottom, or you can swim it around. I do both with this type of jig, and I don't tie it very often. Normally I tie this on a ball head, but this is more the traditional route of the Aspirin style head. I think there's one that's commercially available today. I'm not sure. I know Punisher Lures makes one that they call a horsefly. So we got that. That's looking pretty good as far as our craft fur. We might want a little bit more on the sides. So take a little bit more, and I'll tie some on each side. I really like. I'm liking this head so far. I haven't had a chance to do much with it. We got hit with a cold snap, and it's viciously cold here in the Northeast for this time of year. Normally, I'm fishing right through till Christmas. I don't know if this year if that's gonna happen. We might end up like last year where we have ice on the water before then. I know I just went to a local lake, drove by, and the edges are getting icy. So we'll see what happens in the next week or so. Weather-wise, the temperature goes up a little bit. Maybe I'll get out and get a chance to try this out for you. And as you notice, there's no collar on this, which again, that was that's something that isn't traditional. But the jigs that were available during Billy Westmoreland's time fishing this, it was probably just a small lead collar. Again, I'm not very familiar with it, but I know the style of jig. So now we got our strip and our base color of craft fur tied in. All I'm going to do is take a little bit of just a little bit of fluorescent red, and I'm just going to put just a tiny bit in underneath to add a little bit of extra color, sort of break up that white and pearl. Again, this is optional. Get that, and then on the top, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this is a color of craft fur called Frost. I don't know who makes it. I believe I got this from Do It. It's black and it has frosted tips. So I like using this for the back on minnow head patterns, just because the black tends to blend in real nice with like a pearl or a white body. It shows like a little transition. It's pretty neat stuff to use. Again, it's not necessary. You perfectly fine at leaving this white. This is just something I do for my own, just to make it my own. And that's kind of the neat thing about doing this stuff, is you're going to make it your own. You're going to make something that's not available. And if you're fishing pressured water, believe it or not, that makes a lot of difference at times, because them fish are seeing something they don't get conditioned. You're throwing something they're not conditioned to, something that they don't see. And it doesn't have to be a large difference. It just means just something a little bit different, a little bit off. Maybe the way the jig head that you're using is different than what's commercially available and what everybody else is throwing in your area. We're just about done. All that's left to do is whip finish this. And again, you can take this and make it your own by, you can make it exact, you can make it your own by adding flash to it or going different colors. You could use a dark color. There's really no limit to what you can do. One of the nice things about this type of jig. But this is very effective. And again, this is the first time I've done it on this jig. This is new to me. But the jig style itself I've made on other aspirin heads as well as ball heads. So this should be pretty interesting. And there we have it. That is the horsefly with our trailer built in, our rabbit strip. You could swim this, work it along the bottom. I mean, there's really no limit what you could do with it. Give it a try. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.